Did you miss me? Hello everybody, I'm Kat, and here I am once again. It's been quite a bit since I've made content. It's been quite a bit since I've uploaded content. The thing is, I know I mentioned in my last video that I have tons of content, and the truth is I really do. It's just sitting unedited on my computer right now, and I just haven't had the brain capacity to sit down and edit it. I don't know about anyone else, but this last semester of school was so mentally draining, and I don't really know what it was, but literally after graduation, I crashed, and all I had the mental capacity to do was to just listen to my audiobook and play Kirby's Epic Yarn on my 3DS. That's literally all I could handle. I have all these ideas about making videos. I have ideas about how I'm editing the current videos that are sitting on my computer as we speak, but I was just so tired. And once graduation was over, it was just I needed a break from everything. It also didn't help that I spent a lot of hours just scrolling on Instagram, which does no good for literally anyone. I finally mustered up enough energy, brought to you by a vanilla sweet cream cold brew, to film a video. So that's what we're doing today. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to be back. I have so many videos I want to film. I really hope I continue posting regularly from here on out for the most part. I just realized I passed my channel anniversary, so if you've been around for 5 years, shout out to you. Every year since 2017, I've done this tag. It's a classic in my opinion, and what better way to get back into doing booktube than this tag? You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into it. I literally have not prepared for this tag. Back in the day when I first started my channel, I would always write down the tag questions and my answers in a notebook. I didn't do any of that for this, so we're jumping into it. I have the questions on my phone. Let's do this. So the first question is, of course, none other than, what is the best book you've read so far in 2021? And that would have to go to Solitaire by Alice Oseman. This was also the first book I read in 2021, so you can imagine how my reading year has been. Solitaire follows this teenage girl named Tori Spring who is kind of dealing with a lot in her family life when all of a sudden these anonymous bloggers and this anonymous anarchist society starts appearing in her school, and they seem to be targeting Tori specifically, and she's not entirely sure why. If I'm being honest, Solitaire is probably the best book I've read in a very, very long time. I haven't read a YA contemporary that just perfectly captures the teenage experience in such a long time. I can't even think of the last time I felt this way about a book, but this was literally the first book I read in 2021, so no other book has lived up to it so far. I genuinely love this book so much. I love Tori, I love Michael, I love the fact that it ties in with the Heartstopper comics. I know this book technically came out first, but I read Heartstopper first, so it was fun for me to see Charlie and Nick in this book because I love those two boys. My dog is going crazy downstairs, probably because a package is being delivered. So I've only read, I think, 3 sequels this year. And I don't want to go with the obvious answer, which would be Chain of Iron, because out of the 3 sequels I read, I didn't really love one of them, and then the other 2 were really great. And one of those is Chain of Iron, but I don't want to use Chain of Iron. So for the best sequel, I'm going to go with Heartstopper Volume 4 by Alice Oseman. Oh my gosh, there's already a theme going on here. We love Alice Oseman in this household. Heartstopper is a comic series that follows Nick and Charlie. Nick is Tori's brother from Solitaire. This one is a continuation of Volume 3, and it kind of explores one of the characters' mental health journey as they seek help to get better. And it made me really emotional. I just adore this comic series. I'm so glad that Alice Oseman is showing these characters not only struggle with their mental illnesses, but showing them actively seek help and actively want to get better. I feel like that's something that other books, Turtles All the Way Down, didn't do as well. And I'm really glad that Alice Oseman is showing this young adult audience. It's okay to feel this way, and it's okay to seek help. Alright, so the next question is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet but really want to? And I kind of have a tie for this one. The first one is Better Together by Christine Riccio. Christine is, if you don't know, a booktuber, and I really actually enjoyed her first book, Again But Better. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought it was cute for what it was. I am excited to read this because I did really enjoy Again But Better, but I'm also very, very hesitant because this has received even more mixed reviews than Again But Better. People that I trust, reviewers that I trust, who also really enjoyed Again But Better, did not like this one. So part of why I haven't gotten around to it is because I haven't heard very good things about it. but I do hope I get to it. The other book I really want to get to is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Taylor Jenkins Reid books, if I'm being honest. I do really want to get around to this one, but I've also decided that if I don't really like this one, I'm not going to read any more Taylor Jenkins Reid, because if I'm being honest, I didn't really love Daisy Jones and the Six, and I thought Evelyn Hugo was good, but Daisy Jones and the Six kind of like left a bad taste in my mouth. So if I don't really like this one, it's gonna be the last TJR book I read. But this cover is stunning, so at least it has a good cover, you know what I mean? So the next question is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And if I'm being honest, I don't know what books are coming out in the upcoming months. So let me just type in 2021 book releases into Google and see what's coming out. These are all adult books. I really, honestly, have no idea what books are coming out in the next 6 months. I don't really have an answer for this one. I'm not really good at keeping up to date anymore on books that are coming out. Well, I mean, I don't know if this counts, but I am really looking forward to Secrets of Blackthorn Hall, which will start posting in like a month. I'm gonna put that down, Secrets of Blackthorn Hall. So the next question is your biggest disappointment of the year. And you know, this year I have read quite a few like mediocre books, but no book disappointed me as much as Sloppy Firsts by Megan McCafferty. This was the first book that I actually got approved to read an e-arc of on NetGalley, and I was so excited to read it, and I was so excited because I finally have a NetGalley account, and I can't believe like a publisher gave me the right to read this book. St. Martin's Press, thank you, but also I'm sorry. I didn't think I could hate a YA contemporary as much as I hated Alex Approximately, but this book takes the cake. This book follows this teenage girl named Jessica Darling at the beginning of her sophomore year of high school, and she's kind of dealing with the fact that her best friend had moved away and she doesn't really know if she likes her current friend group. Her older sister is getting married and Jessica doesn't have a date. I don't know, that's kind of it. Basically, Jessica Darling is an ornery teenage girl. What ends up happening is Jessica Darling kind of gets involved with the school's local bad boy. It just goes downhill from there. This book is literally the love child of Alex Approximately and After by Anna Todd. Now, if you love both of those books, maybe you'll like this one. But also, the author's note at the back of the book is really disguised as an apology for the harmful stereotypes displayed in this book. When I tell you that when I read that author's note, I literally almost threw my Kindle out the window. It was literally an apology. Sloppy Firsts, this edition, is a republished version because this book came out 20 years ago, and so the reason that I received an e-arc of this book is because this is the new like 20th anniversary edition. And literally the updated author's note was an apology. Do you know how bad that is? Do you know how bad that is? It's really bad. It's just really bad. Everything about this book is awful from start to finish. It's literally the worst book I've ever read. This book definitely disappointed me. So I would have to go with that one. I would not recommend this book to my worst enemy. And I'm really sad because the first ever NetGalley e-arc I received, I had to give a 1-star review of. So shout out to St. Martin's Press. I understand if you blacklist me, honestly. So going back to the more happy questions, the next question is, what is your biggest surprise book of the year? And for this one, I'm gonna go with Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy by Ray Tercero and Brie Indigo. Well, I knew I would enjoy this graphic novel because it's a Little Women retelling and the art style is very cute, as you can see from the cover, but I did not expect that I would literally die for this book. This is a Little Women retelling. It takes place in the present day, and it kind of follows the girls through the plot of Little Women, but if Little Women were made in the present. And when I tell you that this book not only understood the assignment, but it exceeded it and got the extra credit, it did. It really did. This book is so faithful to the story of Little Women, but it also has its own modern spin on it that I thought was ingenious, and I really think that honestly everyone should read this. I love this retelling so much. This is probably the best retelling I've ever read. So the next question is, who is your favorite like new to you author? And for this one, I'm gonna have to go with Elizabeth Acevedo. I spent the entire month of February reading Elizabeth Acevedo's books, and I really truly loved all of them. I think I gave all of them 4 stars. I know I'm holding up the Podex, but my favorite of the 3 was probably With the Fire on High because it's sat with me the longest. To this day, I still think about that book and the characters in it, so I would definitely recommend that one. But the Podex was just as excellent. Well, y'all knew this was coming. The next question is your newest fictional crush, and I don't think this is technically new. I think I used him last year, but I'm gonna go with James Herondale because I did read Chain of Iron this year, so yeah. Shout out to him. I grew to love James even more in this book, which was surprising because I'm like one of the few people people that genuinely loved his character in Chain of Gold, in Chain of Iron, I just grew to love him more. This man is just a himbo malewife at his best. I believe he deserves more appreciation. So shout out to James Herondale. You're doing amazing, sweetie, except when you're That's okay, we'll let it slide. Is that a spoiler? Nah. Newest favorite character. I'm gonna go with Michael Holden from Solitaire for this one, just because I'm looking at my book list and there really isn't a character that I love more than Michael Holden. Michael Holden is a ray of sunshine in this book. Out of all of Alice Oseman's books, I think this one receives like the most mixed reviews. But I think all of the reviews have the same thing in common, which is Michael Holden. And yes, I agree, Michael Holden. I really loved him. I loved his cameo in Heartstopper. Shout out to Michael Holden. You are a ray of sunshine, my friend. I feel really bad because I'm like repeating books, but to be fair, I've only read 17 books so far this year, and I'm currently in the middle of 3. That's kind of where I'm at. For a book that made me cry, I'm gonna go with Chain of Iron. I'm gonna put up the same, like, preface that I do every year at this question. I'm not someone who cries easily at books. I'm not someone who really gets really emotional when reading books. Oh wait! Well, there were 2 books this year that kind of could answer this question, I just realized. Chain of Iron is one of them because when I finished reading this book, I streamed Line Without a Hook and Betty and just kind of stared at the wall for a very long time. So Chain of Iron, definitely, the ending of this book made me feel a lot of emotions, and to this day, I can't stream Betty by Taylor Swift without getting really emotional thinking about Jordelia. So there's that. The other book that could fit this is Solitaire by Alice Oseman because there was one day where I was just thinking about this book and I just started crying. It didn't happen while I was reading this book. I was just thinking about it and thinking about the characters and like the circumstances they're in, and I literally just kind of burst into tears. I guess technically Solitaire would be the correct answer for this because this book did make me cry. A book that made me happy. For this one, I'm gonna go with One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I'm just kind of scrolling through like the books I have read this year on Goodreads. I mean, there are some of them that did make me happy, like Chain of Iron made me ridiculously happy, but I'm gonna go with One Last Stop. I ended up picking this up because around April, after I read Sloppy Firsts, I fell into a massive reading slump where everything I was reading wasn't really holding my attention. I just wanted to pick up a book and read it, and I picked up One Last Stop. I kind of expected it to be a little more like Red, White, and Royal Blue, but this book really isn't, so if you're someone who hasn't read it yet, just don't go into it expecting it to be like Red, White, and Royal Blue, because it's not. But I still really loved it, and it made me happy. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I definitely looked forward to every day where I would put on this audiobook and play Kirby's Epic Yarn. It made me ridiculously happy, so I'm gonna go with One Last Stop. Plus, it also kind of helped me get back into reading after reading that god-awful book that is Sloppy Firsts. The most beautiful book you've bought or received so far this year. Obvious answer, it's Shiny. Also, Florence Welch's poetry book. This is stunning, and I bought this because Jack Edwards recommended it, even though I have only listened to one Florence and the Machine song, but this book is stunning, and I actually really do want to read it because I've heard the poetry is just amazing. What books do I need to read by the end of the year? A lot of books. So currently my Goodreads goal is 45 books. I've only read 17, and I'm currently in the middle of 3. So I'm just gonna go with the 3 books I'm currently reading right now. So the first one I have here is Dirty Rowdy Thing by Christina Lauren. As you can see, I decided to go with the basic route of getting out of a reading slump by reading romance. And is it working? Next book I am currently reading is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, which I've heard is just fantastic, and this is another book that I have the audiobook of, but I haven't really been listening to the audiobook because the third book I'm currently reading is Queen of Air and Darkness, which is a reread. If you're new to my channel, I did a reread of Lady Midnight and Lord of Shadows last year in quarantine. When it came time to pick up Queen of Air and Darkness, I procrastinated. So I'm finally getting around to this reread. I've been listening to the audiobook of Queen of Air and Darkness. I've been listening to it pretty steadily for the past like few weeks. I don't know if I've gotten older or if my perspective on life has changed drastically, but I'm actually enjoying it a little bit more than when I first read it. I'm kind of surprised. I don't know, maybe I've just gotten older and I've learned to appreciate things differently, but it's definitely not as bad the second time around. I say this as if this isn't the conclusion to my favorite series ever, but I am hoping that I do finish this reread though this year. And I have a feeling that's gonna happen with the rate that I'm reading it at. And the last question here is favorite book to movie adaptation you've seen this year. I don't believe I've seen a lot of book to movie adaptations this year. Okay, I can only think of 2 book to movie adaptations I've seen this year. One of them was Always and Forever Lara Jean, and I really hated that adaptation mainly because I did not love the book. The other one is Shadow and Bone, and Shadow and Bone was really good, but that's another case of I didn't really love the book. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars, and so the show was really accurate to the book, which meant I didn't love the show. But I did really like the Crow's plotline in there, and it makes me want to jump into the Grishaverse and finish all of the books in there. Shadow and Bone was definitely the superior one out of those 2, and I definitely really liked it. But the best book to movie adaptation I saw this year was Sailor Moon Eternal. I don't know if you would count this because it's technically a manga to movie adaptation, but for those of you who don't know, Sailor Moon Eternal is a 3-hour Sailor Moon movie that follows my favorite arc in the manga, the Dream arc, and it was so good. It was immaculate. I loved it. They had a budget for the animation and it showed, and they did what they had to do, and I loved it. I'm obsessed. And they just added Sailor Moon Crystal to Netflix, so I've definitely been watching that. Not gonna lie. I'm someone who is a manga fan. I read the entire 12 volumes of Sailor Moon. This movie did not disappoint. It in fact exceeded my expectations, and I didn't even know it was a thing until I got the notification from Netflix that said, you might like Sailor Moon Eternal, and I'm like, you think? But if we're gonna go like with the general YA book to movie adaptations, it would probably be Shadow and Bone, but I loved Sailor Moon Eternal so much, so I'm gonna go with that one. Alright, and that is it for this book tag. Let me know down below some of your favorite books you read this year. Let me know some of your favorite book to movie adaptations you've seen this year, because like I said, I've only seen 2, and I'm sure that there's more out there that are definitely better than the 2 I've seen. Well, maybe not Shadow and Bone, because I know a lot of people love Shadow and Bone. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you liked it, and subscribe maybe. I promise content is coming soon. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!